right, we are live as I am typing my name in so it doesn't say comments only. And I've got to get rid of this keyboard because I kept hitting this one because now I'm on a different computer. So there we go, technology. So ladies and gentlemen who are likely going to be watching this in the archive at some point in life, let's just actually have a look. Yeah, exactly. So we started late. We maybe lost the early comers. For some reason, my lovely studio here decided to play up on me. So we are on a spare laptop that doesn't have the green screen tuned in. So such is life, but that's okay because you know why? It's about the people, right? Technology is about the people. So this is what I wanted to talk about today, and this is the point of these sessions. This is an Ask Me Anything with the people who make the magic happen at Checkpoint Software Technologies. Today, I have Omer Dembinsky. Have I pronounced that okay, buddy?
Yeah, as good as it gets for English speakers.
As good as it gets for a Westerner. Yeah. That's right. Exactly, man. Exactly. That's cool. Well, listen, so I started doing some live streams really during the pandemic, actually. And one of them that I thought was really interesting is, look, we hear from all the rock stars at Checkpoint all the time, you know, the customer facing rock stars, the people who, you know, we write books about, the real big people. And but behind them are an army of human beings that what I like to affectionately say, make the magic happen. You're one of them, Omer. All right. So what I've simply done is I've gone through our database as a company. I said, okay, this looks like a really interesting person to talk to. And then I invite them on the live stream. So why don't we do this? Tell us what it is you do at Checkpoint right now. And what's a day in the life of Omer? Like you get up, you get to work, what happens? Let's just start there and I'll drill in.
Okay, so I manage today a group called Data Research. It's under the research organization, the CPR organization at Checkpoint. My group actually has a few different parts. Main two teams that we have. One is in charge of data analysis, and they have an internal-facing role and also external. Internally, they help with product analysis for our threat prevention product teams, help understand what the products are doing, how well they're doing, mainly in terms of security. Are they catching what they're supposed to catch? Are they making any type of mistakes, and help to improve all our protections?
Okay.
And externally help with analyzing and finding interesting trends and statistics about what is happening in the world in cybercrime on the macro scale. So we have a lot of smart people in CPR, researchers, threat intelligence analysts, and they have all kinds of different scopes going from really micro to of analyzing a file and everything that it's doing, or analyzing and investigating APTs around the world. We look at the greatest macro level of understanding trends of malware families over time, specific incidents, attacks going on around certain global events. And that mainly goes out for media and for marketing and all those kinds of things.
Okay, cool stuff. You have I just wanted to include Jeremy in the dialogue because here I am calling the big folks rock stars. Yes, this status is also available to you, my friend. Jeremy's a great guy, so thanks for dialing in, Jeremy. That's really cool. That's really interesting, Omer. Okay, so I'm hearing that there are two main disciplines, if I can call them
that. That was just the analysis part. We also have a development team, and they do. Yeah, and they have also so they have also internal and external facing responsibilities. Internally, they build all the platforms and systems for our cyber researchers.
Help them. I'm just going to go on mute while this background noise is happening. Keep talking, my friend.
Okay. So they help develop systems and platforms for our cyber analysts, helping them do the day-to-day work more comfortably. They help with streaming data from all our products to be able for our analysts and for all the product teams to see what is happening on their products. And the latest external facing is developing part of what we have for our own analysts and researchers, externally also available for our customers, and that's via the intelligence section in our XDR product. So that's another option that we are responsible for.
So yeah, XDR, that's really cool. I apologize if there's background noise. There's a lot of leaf blowers outside my street right now. It's winter time in New Jersey. What can I say? It's a battle against nature, and humans, we're going to lose. It's like we shouldn't have built houses in a swamp.
Yeah.
Okay. So XDR, I definitely want to talk about at some point too. Let's go back to the beginning of what you were saying there in the product improvements. And how do you listen to our customer base, right? How do you listen for the challenges? Like, what mechanisms are in place? Do you do it digitally, or do you literally pick up the phone to people? How's it going? Like, what do you do?
So we mainly do the quantitative side. So we collect a lot of data coming from the actual products and services, cloud services, endpoints, mobile, all the different platforms that we have for security. We get telemetry sent out into our own systems, and there we organize it and we make sure it can make sense for our analysts and also for the actual product teams to be able to see to the level of a specific file, what happened when it was emulated, and what the exact engines inside the product said in each phase, and what scores it got on machine learning algorithms. And then when we come back and we help build dashboards that help understand if the products were able to catch what they were supposed to catch. So we also have other mechanisms by other teams at Checkpoint that run all these things also in retrospect. So that helps to understand and find what was the real, after a lot of more intelligence is known by our teams and also in the world about files, about websites, to help understand what was actually supposed to be the correct verdict of a specific file, for example. And we help reflect, is the product getting a good detection rate? Are there any false positives? But mainly, if you're talking about, we don't have the direct contact with customers. It could get to us very indirectly by tickets opened to talk, to support, if something was wrongly classified, and then we can try and help either with our data or actual analysis if it's needed to go deeper and understand why something was deemed malicious when it isn't, or deemed or missed when it was actually malicious. You're on mute, Eddie.
What a day. What a technology day I'm having. So again, ladies and gentlemen, here's my real studio.
Yeah.
But it's not working today. So there we are. Thank you. Thanks for your understanding. So, okay. So if I understand this correctly, we published that we have approximately 100,000 customers. So of those customers, some have thousands of let's just say firewalls, but obviously it's all the cybersecurity stuff, right? The next generation gateways, right? Security gateways. So that equals millions of nodes, right? Security gateways out there. And what you're saying is, I think this is what you're saying, we're sucking the information that is without taking the PII. We're actually just looking at deep packet inspection. We're actually looking right. So we're not seeing the data. What we're looking at is what's inside the packages, because we're looking for malicious content. As that data from these millions of, I'll call them nodes, but I want you to correct me if that's the wrong word, listening posts, right? Millions of listening posts. What we then do is we then bash it all into this big machine, part of our, I think our IOCs and part of our big database. And we say, this is good, this is bad, this is good, this is bad. And you are part of the group that improves that. Is that right?
Yes. So there's a lot of groups who always try to improve that, of course. So also the product team, each product team for themselves look at that data and analyze it, and always try to find things that were missed, or maybe things that we're not handling yet or not handling well enough. Some things, if we're not even inspecting something, then you can't know if we're good or bad at it. Or how much we should be catching. But then we also help if we want to try and analyze that. So if there's an initial exploration, of trying to just understand what exactly is out there. So we can do that from external sources, or helping if we have a lot of, we could say, silent or offline engines that run and can try and get information that is needed. So like I said, we also help with getting this data, sorting it in a way that people can make sense of it. And you're right, you take all the information that's already coming from the systems to try and constantly improve it. So we have things that are not under my responsibility, for example, in the AI machine learning groups, which have constant reinforcement learning. So they take what ran before. They have these systems on the side that, like I said, give like the retrospective verdict about the files, and then the machine itself, when it runs the next time to learn from, again, millions of files, it has the new truth of what is happening, and it's constantly fine-tuning to improve.
So Omer, does this connect to our sandboxing technology, where we will blow stuff up in a safe environment with kind of very low latency, and then keep moving that traffic through after we've blown up all the bad stuff? Does your world connect with that real-time threat prevention that we have?
Definitely. Our work touches almost any of the threat prevention products. So definitely the Sandblast and all the file emulation based files that on computers, on mobile, things that come via email, and yes, the things that are emulated, and we can see the full view of what is happening, and also if things are being extracted, like malicious macros or other artifacts from the files, and then we can learn from them. The analysts can learn from them. The product teams can learn from them. And yes, and that goes back and forth, like I said, in a loop. And we also have, not only on the product side, on the research side, a lot of infrastructure of things that run offline to try and learn and find new things that the products aren't looking at yet, or are looking, but maybe we have things that can improve them.
Yeah, because I suppose the game that we're playing here, this is interesting. So tell me if you think I'm right. The game that we're playing here is that threat actors will obviously come up with something new. Like I'm customer facing, so what I'll say to customers is, this is an old one that we all know, but it's worthy of reminding us, especially for newer people coming into the industry. We have to be right 100% of the time. Threat actors, there's no penalty for being wrong 100% of the time. They only need to be right once. For us, there's massive penalty for being wrong once. So the odds are stacked against us. Having said that, we're winning the fight for the most part every single day. So that's really cool, right? Just think about that. The vast majority of companies are not, penetrated by a threat actor. So really think about that. It's amazing. We're winning this race. Anyway, so right. So the cat and mouse game that we're playing is, as those threat actors come up with a new thing, we don't just want to learn about it in retrospect. Crap, it affected somebody got hurt. We don't, that happens in life. We see it on the news and in headlines, but that's not quite what we're doing. What we're doing is we're trying to draw that new threat as close to our analysts, your team and other teams, as possible, so we can deal with it in real time, right? And this is the threat prevention thing, because what we're saying is, if we can deal with this in real time with super low latency, that's prevention. Why not then go full prevention architecture if we can manage it? And I think that's what you're talking about, right? It's being that it's as close as we can to the newest threat.
Yes,
and
yeah.
What do you think?
Yeah, so it's one thing is definitely that, to be able to have the smallest gap possible for the next threat, but it's also because most threats are similar to each other. Of course, the threat actors are always improving and trying to find slightly new ways to do things, but eventually they want to do very similar things. They want to propagate inside the network. They want to exfiltrate data from your machine. They want to gain elevated access privileges. So they're trying to do, or they try to, extort ransomware from your machine. A lot of the things are very similar. So we want to try and learn, and I'm talking not us, but us as CPR, as checkpoint threat prevention, to learn these patterns of what the threat actors are doing. And then even if they change things and try to innovate on their side, what we've learned so far can help find that, even if it's something we haven't seen before at all. Maybe later when we analyze it manually, we'll be able to understand, oh, okay, they did this and this and this, but we were able to understand that it was something bad. Even if we couldn't, in the first time, pinpoint exactly, which malware family this is, or exactly all the steps they tried to do. But we were able to gather enough evidence to understand that this is something malicious.
Yeah. That's great. That's really smart. I hadn't thought about that in it that way before. So what we're saying is, we know the threat actor wants the crown jewels. They want money, they want intellectual property, disruption, they just want to be a pain in the butt, whatever it might be. So we see that this behavior could be a pain in the butt, right? So then what we say is, well, there's intent for evil. Because of the intent, we are now, are we so bold as to block when we see intent and that it's an unknown thing? Because obviously port whatever, we know that port is used for open web traffic, right? Now if somebody has malicious intent and they're trying, let's say, different areas to penetrate the organization, we can say that might be a threat actor. It might not be, but it might be. So let's block that before, analyze it. If it's not, let it through with hopefully super low latency. And if it is, great, we've done the prevention thing. So the worst case scenario would be not quite a false positive, but a delay from a false positive. Have I got that right?
So first of all, we have, a lot of things are stopped to a limit, especially things, for example, coming via email, things that you don't usually do live, but also things like if you browse to a website that requires logins or any other details, a form of sort. So we have a product that scans the page and tries to gather artifacts, saying, for example, okay, it has a logo of a company, but the website doesn't have anything to do with that company, or again, any other artifacts on the page that can help manage that. So we have, delays of a few seconds, and you can give the best user experience for the user, but the highest prevention. Right. But also, like you said, unknown, also we would block something completely, saying, okay, we don't know exactly what threat this is, but we have enough understanding that it isn't something legitimate. So we take it upon ourselves to block that. And take that, of course, we do that's what we help gather the information about later on to understand, okay, were we correct? Are we too extreme in our decision making? Should we tweak the threshold of how much we should decide if something is malicious or not? And what you started saying also is about, I think you want also to talk about XDR, but that's exactly like all these steps. We usually, a lot of products usually look at the single connection, the single file, single email, and try and understand that. And in XDR, and also that's like a evolution of things that happened in the checkpoint endpoint, trying to build the entire tree, the entire understanding of what's going on across all the networks, the devices, and then to try and understand, even if something, let's say for a single product, wouldn't cross the threshold, but if you have enough evidence of things happening in 3 different vectors on the same time, then, or if you have the same weird thing happening on 3 computers now in your network, then okay, this is something that should be alerted, blocked, and built an entire incident response around it.
Right. You know what's beautiful about this? We are talking art as well as science, right? The science of it is, I don't want to say easy because I actually don't understand it, but I get it. It's ones and zeros, right? So it's not that it's easy. It's just that it's predictable. It's mathematics. So we can block anything and everything, but then we won't get anything done. So that's the art. So what's interesting, Omer, is the conversations I have with CISOs and cybersecurity folks is this. Okay, a great example. There's a business information security officer who's kind of become a buddy of mine. He's at a very large company that pretty much everybody deals with around the world, that kind of company. And he said one of the problems he has is that the developers and the people making products in this company will purposefully leave security out of the dialogue because their KPIs for their year-end bonus is get this product out on time. Now, as soon as they include the BISO, they have a business information security officer who works with the CISO, right? But you understand the BISO exactly, right? So as soon as the BISO says, what are you doing over here? What is all this? It slows the project down. Of course, because don't do that. Don't throw that out on the web because that's going to hurt. People are going to get hurt. Okay. So, well, why? Well, because their KPIs aren't lined up, right? The business and the security. So that's the first thing I say to customers. Line up the KPIs with the business and security, because ultimately what we have to do, and I say we, I mean BISOs, CISOs, cybersecurity folks at customer sites, right? And then people like me who are employed at Checkpoint to be customer facing, is we are essentially trying to change a culture. We are trying to say to these large organizations, we're trying to say, look, we have to be predictive in our security. And therefore, we will have false positives. But the culture of your organization needs to be such that when you experience a false positive, it has the most minimal impact to your business because everybody knows what to do, right? So if an email's been delayed by 30 seconds or even 2 minutes, if a piece of traffic, because our machine learning systems are saying, hang on, and we are of the philosophy, and I think all CISOs are, we really don't want to let bad traffic in. We in particular at Checkpoint, because of our leadership, has always started for 30 years, right? Saying prevention, not detection. We are the companies out there trying to change the culture, right? And so the organization, the end user, the business, the people outside of cybersecurity, they need to appreciate what you've just said, right? Because if we only block the known traffic, well, good luck, because tomorrow, right? There'll be something new. So this art, what you are talking about right now, is what we and our entire sales teams and marketing teams need to articulate for the department of the CISO to the rest of the organization. That's what I'm trying to get at, right? So that you in particular, your people at Checkpoint have the opportunity to err on the side of caution when we are unsure about a piece of traffic. Right? Yeah, exactly.
So there's always a fine line between, being very strict. And of course, that's also, there are in the products abilities to say, okay, until from a certain confidence level, some customers would say anything that the product thinks even slightly, let's block it. The default is things that are low confidence, maybe will just be alerted. And then things that are in higher confidence would be blocked. So that's the default, but of course anyone can change that compared to what they want. From what you started to talk about the developers and the problems in their productivity, I think that also goes a step forward in supply chain attacks, saying that not only for your own, if a company wants to defend their own systems with their own developers, but also with what the company is using externally. Because any slight, if you go and you use something, either that was targeted, like SolarWinds, for example, then all the customers became victims of the attack, because the threat actors had to attack one company and then got access to thousands of companies. Or if it's like in Log4Shell, where the vulnerability exposed, and then everyone flying around and trying to use it, while the other people are trying to block that. So when you're using something externally, not only your own developers, you have to worry about what you're posting online or what your developers are using, but also what other products you're using, even in finance and in anywhere across the organization, to make sure you're not exposed too much, or at least know what to do in case things do come to that case.
Right. Yeah. Has your organization touched the Spectral acquisition? Did you do anything with that?
Not much, actually.
Not much. It's just okay. We won't talk about it.
It's very
Yeah. Well, so
very similar.
Since I brought it up, I just want to say for the people watching this in the archive later that, that acquisition, if I've understood it correctly, we are essentially allowing the DevSecOps teams, right, the people coding and grabbing code from GitHub and all around the world, and we are inspecting it as they write the code, right? Is that kind of?
Yeah, that's from what my understanding as well. But in any case, it's also that's helping your own developers, making sure you don't have any glitches in your security. You're not using things that already have known vulnerabilities, and just understanding if you've written something that could be exposed to vulnerabilities later on. And definitely that's something that is super important, and a lot of the largest breaches came from those kinds of attacks.
Scanning for secrets, these kinds of things. Okay, I want to talk about one more thing before we wrap up our show. You mentioned about malware, and you said families. So I like that word, right? Family. Right. Because I think what it does is it helps our machine learning algorithms to predict, let's say, a new child in the malware family. Is that the way to look at it? Is that why we can use the word families quite well? Is because when there's new offspring, our predictive analytics engines will say, hang on, that thing looks like it's got the DNA of mum and dad.
Yeah, exactly. So that the definition of family, I think, is it's a bit fluid, but it's usually saying, okay, this piece of malware was designed to do a specific thing. We can trace the code back, even if there are, again, slight changes. Like you said, okay, it's versioning. I remember one of the first things I did at Checkpoint when I joined 7.5 years ago as an analyst. So I got the job to do a publication about a ransomware, just a new ransomware, something small, not something like a huge APT responsible. And it was an offline ransomware. It had this technology, so we had the cyber researcher who actually analyzed exactly how it's working, and I was responsible to write like the story about where it attacked, what was the history. And I just started Googling it, the name, and with when you have ransomware, you have usually the file extension changes to something, and a lot of the time the name of the ransomware comes from that extension. And I just started looking at it, and I saw like results on Google for people writing that they have, I have this type of file, weird file, and you could see the versioning. So it went from 0.0.1, 0.0.7, 1.2.4. So it was very consistent. The malware developer actually uses exactly like a software developer does in another company. And we see that, we know that these organizations are now moving from like a single person maybe that did it to large organization, APTs. They have development teams, they have HR, they have negotiators, they have things exactly like you have customer facing, like you said. But it says they also have. So I think that's very interesting. And again, so you have this initial type, let's say, or the family, let's say, Emotet or Trickbot or whatever, the big names of malware families. And exactly, once they do slight changes, you can say, okay, it's very, very similar to what we saw before. I can still include it in the same family. It's definitely a new strand, I don't know, and you can find other words that are related to that. and it definitely helps to understand. And you have malware that changed tremendously throughout the years. Things that started from just like banking, tried very specific, and then added each time they added more and more capabilities. Sending spam emails, doing expansion laterally, or infecting other systems, and just changing how they work. But eventually they're built by the same threat actor. They have the same code base, and just like we have versions of our product, they have versions of the malware.
I'm so pleased you brought that up. It's a good note of art, as I was talking about earlier, to end on, because I remember, so certainly for the last 5, 6, 7 years, threat actors have become well organized, like corporations. And the people who have invested their time into creating a piece of malware, it's their baby, in a sense. So they want to keep the baby alive. So that's right, they modify the baby. They try to make it grow. They try to put teeth on it and claws, right? They try to make it more dangerous, And we saw this years ago with exploit kits. We had a great, like Oded, right? Van Unu and all those guys, right? And your colleagues. They came up with a great expose. This was on nuclear exploit kit. This is years ago. And it's still a great story. I try not to bring it up because it's so old. But the fact that you can rent out these pieces of malware, right, to try and do something else with it, right? It's just like, I got this baby. It's kind of an ugly baby now. No one's using it anymore. It doesn't want to be, adopted out. So here, I'll just rent this code. You threat actors go decide what you want to do with it. And then, as you say, they're very well organized. They'll get a marketing team, right, to do a bunch of email phishing campaigns. They'll get, this group here. They'll put it all together. They'll rent this exploit kit. They push it out and they see if they can do some damage. Yeah,
definitely.
Yeah.
And there's also, it's like you said, if the code leaks out or if the threat actors send it, and then, it has a lot of branches because a lot of people are using it. And also the threat actors themselves, they say, I don't need to develop all the pieces of my attack myself. Like we use third parties for certain things. They say, we have already some tools externally that can help to elevate privileges or to send out emails or send out the data to the cloud. So they also utilize what they can to because maybe they don't have the expertise or they just don't want to develop. They have enough tools out there that they can use.
Yeah, exactly. I know. So the world is, as this online world and game we are playing continues. In a sense, it's a modification on previous centuries of crime, which always involved physical violence. So in a sense, it's an improvement upon previous centuries of crime. Right? It's a crazy way to look at it, buddy. But and people obviously can get hurt and financially ruined. So employment. So it has an effect. I don't mean to demean it, but certainly this is where people with low morals and some intelligence are going to apply themselves to create a problem. And we're out there to solve it. So listen, man, this is really cool. I want to end it here because of all the computer problems I'm having here today. That's okay. Thank you for your patience and bearing with me on that, Omer.
Sure.
This is really cool, man. So look, I know you're on LinkedIn, so you can see Omer's name there. And if you wanted to reach out to him with any questions, certainly you could find him on LinkedIn. Otherwise, the mechanism to get to talk to you is likely through the local account teams. If people have anything special that they would like, attention to, so go through your local Checkpoint account teams on that. Omer, I'd love to bring you back next year for another conversation, more in depth, but this time with green screens and simulations and websites.
Yeah, like I said, we're always glad to get contacts from inside Checkpoint and even sometimes from partners that ask questions about statistics about a certain country or sector. We also have our own tool, and again, this is for Checkpoint employees and partners of under TechPoint, under the partner map, to generate automated presentations surrounding a certain country or region or specific sector, and you just get a few dozen slides just summarizing the main trends and statistics about and stories of cyber attacks.
Really? This is a tool that we have for our partners.
Yes, definitely.
I had no idea. Okay, here's what we're going to do. In the new year, you and I can, if this is part of your thing, I want to do one of those. We'll pick a country and we'll create that little slide template.
Yeah,
it would just be super interesting. Maybe I even bring a partner on too, right? And we'll have a conversation between three of us. I didn't know that. That's brilliant. Okay, let's do that in the new year, man. Let's build out, a risk profile for a country. That'll be super exciting.
Great.
Oh, man. Awesome. Well, listen, Omer, thank you for everything you're doing, because this is what I say, the people that make the magic happen. Magic's happening. And when I say magic, what I mean is, out of millions of gateways around the world, the vast majority are never penetrated, right? That's awesome. The vast majority of companies are not phished. The vast majority of companies are safe. So thank you for that, because you are part of that machine that makes the online world safe. So it's appreciated. And listen, everybody that's out there, you know where to reach us. We're going to call a wrap on this one today. I'll bring Omer back in the new year.
Yeah, great to meet you.
Okay, buddy. Fantastic. We'll end the broadcast right there. And